Hey everybody, welcome to another model building workshop. I am Mr. Allen. I am coming to you from my basement workshop here in Providence, Rhode Island on behalf of the Community Libraries of Providence. And today we're looking at this monstrosity of a kit. This is the ICM T-35. This is the Soviet, well, it says Soviet heavy tank from World War II. It's actually like the land battleship concept that was kind of a popular idea. Well, actually, it was a popular idea in the 20s and 30s, and a few nations were playing around with this concept of multi-turreted tanks. And this is pretty much the king of those from that time period. This thing has a whopping, what is it, 5 turrets, I think? Yeah, it's pretty insane. So, what does it say here? Let me find the English one here. I'll read the side of the box. There's more in the instruction sheet. But it says the T-35 heavy tank was designed in 1932 to penetrate enemy lines and destroy enemy strongpoints. It was the only 5-turreted tank to enter serial production anywhere in the world. So it's symbolizing the growing power and strength of the USSR, the world's first socialist country. All right. So the T-35 saw action in the western Ukraine during the opening stages of the war, following the German invasion of the Soviet Union in June 1941. Almost all of the tanks committed were lost, both to enemy action and to mechanical problems. It says, however, 2 T-35s did take part in the Battle of Moscow during the winter of 1941. 2 prototypes were constructed initially between 32 to 39, and a total of 61 tanks in several series were produced. This is made in the Ukraine by ICM. Is there a year in here somewhere? I should have checked scale mates, but I didn't. Sorry about that, but maybe the instruction sheet says more. So this is a project that I've been kind of working on and off because it's a rather daunting kit, in my opinion. There's a lot to this. Let's just get right into it. I've been working on it bit by bit, and I broke a gun, so I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do about that. So anyway, you start to get the layout of all these, turrets that are on here. So you have 2 that are strictly machine gun turrets. And those are the types of turrets that would have been on either like a T-37 or T-38 amphibious light tank, or 2 of these might have been on a T-26 in the twin turreted capacity. And then you've got these. These turrets are basically like the turret you'd find on a BT-2 or BT-2 perhaps. Maybe some T-26s might have had these turrets. I think they did. Early ones did. That kind of a thing. So you get the idea right off the bat how big this is going to be, because look at that. That's the top of the hull there. So I've been working on this on and off, like I said. It's quite the project. Is your hull bottom. So I'm trying to get the interior white going in there, because I do find that there's some interesting interior detail to this kit that would be worth trying to show off a little bit. We'll see. So here's the main turret here. And the 2 machine guns, one in the back and one in the front there. See? And that would go on. So get this to sit there. Yeah, this needs to be sanded because it's got paint on it. I'm not going to force that on. Well, I guess it's on there now. We'll leave it alone. And we have the top of the turret here which I'm hoping I can find a way to keep this so I can remove it so you can see the inside. We'll see how that goes. All right, let's get this massive whole bottom out of the way for a minute. Yeah, right. We have the driver's compartment going here. That, I believe, sits in the front here. Yeah, it kind of drops right in there. So this kit gives you a lot of possibilities. If you want to load up the interior and get a crew, I mean, there's lots that you could do with this. That's why I'm taking my time fiddling around with it. There's a lot of parts, as you can see. Get an engine to work on, transmission, all sorts of things going on here. A pretty big drive wheel, drive sprocket, and an idler wheel, pretty large. We've got the side skirts. Now, granted, these are not to scale, so some people out there would probably want to find photo etch options, which would be thinner, because there's no way they were that thick in reality. If anything, this had very thin armor. It's making me nervous here. Make sure that doesn't fall. Lots of parts. And it just goes on and on. Oops, these got stuck. Different sorts of things going on there. Look at that engine fan. That's pretty huge, huh? And that should be visible. Here you have the turret floor and some seats and shells that you're going to put in the racks. And we'll look at all of this when we look at the instruction sheets in just a moment. And this, what I like about this kit is that it gives you a lot of different options. So you're going to see that there's two different types of radio masts. You've got the like a whip antenna, and you have that clothesline style. And then this looks daunting, but we'll see how it goes. Link by link tracks. And again, gobs of those. More hull pieces here. Then we get to the running gear with the springs. Lots going on there, and this, yeah, there's several trees of that. Just keeps going, doesn't it? But this is the last tree I have, which has some engine grills and so forth, which would go on the back of the hull. So yeah, quite a plethora of parts. Yowza. So when you buy one of these, you certainly are paying for a lot of plastic. Now here's the instruction sheet. Oops. A little dusty. So it's a pretty big instruction sheet here. Let's see. Yeah, the story here is much longer than the one on the side of the box. Yeah, so let's see what else it has to say here. T-35 was armed with a KT-28, which is a 76.2 millimeter gun. It was designed to devastate enemy strong points. So it's not really an anti-tank gun, this main gun here on the turret. It's designed to take out fortifications. It also has 2 DT machine guns in that turret. And the 4 remaining turrets housed less powerful armament, but let's say the 2 smallest ones each had a single DT machine gun in there for use against infantry, and the 2 medium-sized turrets were armed with the anti-tank 45 millimeter 20K gun, and each of those had a coaxial DT machine gun. Is that so? Oh yeah, they do. So most of these saw service in separate heavy tank brigades, which were attached to the General Command Reserve. No T-35s had been in action prior to the outbreak of World War II. Up until then, they had mainly been used in military parades. Well, makes sense. It's kind of a good propaganda piece. And the parades are usually either in Moscow or Kharkiv or Kharkov, depending. And they were kind of used as a symbol of the growing strength and power of the Soviet Union as propaganda pieces. The Germans had a couple of multi-turreted tanks that they also used for that purpose as well, although they did see service in Norway, I believe. Let's see. So T-35s were listed in 2 tank regiments belonging to the Kivsky separate military region. And these tanks were lost during the first weeks of the battle in western Ukraine. Almost all losses of the T-35s were attributed to mechanical failure rather than enemy action. And only 7 tanks were actually lost in combat. 2 of the T-35s saw action during the Battle of Moscow in the winter, and 2 more tanks spent 4 years in the Kazan Tank School. Another undamaged T-35, which was abandoned by its crew near the Polish-Ukraine border, entered service with the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists, and that was in service during 41-42, kind of with a guerrilla group. Interesting. Some sort of organization, yeah, and the maybe not the guerrilla group, but Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists. Interesting. That might need might need more of a search to find that information out. So this is a massive, massive tank. But it doesn't talk about the armor. Let me see. Does it have dimensions here? Yeah, it does have some dimensions. Because the armor was, 20 to 50 millimeters thick from the front, 30 millimeters thick on the sides. So it's not really, the armor is not really that heavy, though some of them had extra plates added to them. But for 1930s, it wasn't bad, but by World War II, this is starting to get a little dated. All right, so the instructions got a lot going on. So you got all of the, that seat I showed you for the driver, but you've got engines and transmission stuff to put together. And you have all the wheels and suspension to do. So you're going to have the entire engine, which may be visible through the hatches if you wanted to make that so, yeah. I think the steps are pretty nicely spelled out so that they're not too hard to follow. And then you start getting the turret together. As you can see, I kind of bounced around with my assembly, working on different parts of it. And you got that, the turret has the interior, which I showed you the parts, but then you can see how the layout, how it's going to look. That's for the main turret. The smaller turrets don't have interior detail. I think there's more you could do with this, but it's not really showing you that here in the instructions. But you do have the option of which antenna you want. You've got the whip antenna or the frame antenna, or clothesline, or whatever you want to call it. Style there, the frame one. There's a lot of upper hull work to do there. And then you have, see, I've already mounted the turret, so I can take them all off. But put the turrets on, the side skirts on, and then your painting options. So they give you 3 options with this kit. I'm wondering if they've got another one out there, because there is another gun in here. Or a different gun option. Maybe that's for the T-28 kit, which is a 3-turret tag, which kind of had the 2 small machine gun turrets and that one. Maybe it's parts for that. So the options you have here are for a T-35A of the 34th Tank Division of the 8th Mechanized Corps in June 1941. And that's this one here on top. Overall dark green. Not heavy in markings, just the big star on the side. And it's got some stripes on the top of the target. Not a lot. You've got this one here, which is a lot more colorful with more markings on it. Quite a few with these bands that go around the turret tops. And that one is of the 1st Tank, 2nd Platoon, 2nd Company, 1st Tank Battalion, 5th Heavy Tank Brigade in 1936. So that's got a lot of emblems that will go around all of these different turrets. A lot of stripe and dart type things, which I'll show you in just a second. And the last one is an all-white one of the 34th Tank Regiment of the Red Army Military Academy of Mechanization and Motorization in the winter of 1941, perhaps one of those that was at the Battle of Moscow. It's solid white. Now, I have seen someone do the white one. In fact, it's sitting in a hobby shop here in Warwick, Rhode Island, which is always nice to look at whenever I stop by the shop. It's a beautiful model kit that person built. The all-white snow. Yeah, it looks pretty marvelous. I think I'm going to go with green on this one and probably do the top one here or something similar to it. Still thinking about that. On the back, it has paint breakdowns with testers, testers colors and homeworld colors. So this is going back a ways. There's an address for their office in Kyiv, Ukraine. We don't have a date on this. As far as I remember, I thought this was like in the late 90s. I could be wrong. Early 2000s. This kit's been around for a little while. Early ICM. Yeah. Beautiful kit. We'll see how I manage with it. Because I'm kind of fighting my way through it. Not necessarily that it's difficult. It's just there's a lot to do. And it's always like I feel like I need more hands to work on something like this, because you got to build and paint and do this and that. You know what I mean? So there's a lot going on. And let's see if I got anything on this in a book. I think this book here is one of my favorites, which I've used often on these episodes. World War II Tank Encyclopedia in color, 3945, by Historian Collections, by Jean Rastain. Ooh, be careful with that binding. So it gives you a fleet of, this is awkward. If I can hold it. So there's one T-35 here in an overall green. And the others, for the most part, are T-28s. If you look at the T-28s, like the one at the bottom here, you see you see the striped turret design decals, which you can put on the T-35 here. But you'll see this one's got a longer barreled gun than the stubby other ones, right? If you're catching that. Even this BT-7A up here has got the stubby gun. For lack of a better description. And the bottom of the T-60. But anyhow, you get the idea that there are some options with the types of guns that went on some of these vehicles And I wonder if that pertained to the T-35 as well. Yes, the one in the book here is just an overall green. It's got no markings on it at all. It just says it's the Central Front of 1941. Weighing 50 metric tons, this wheeled fortress, or tracked fortress, did not fulfill its tactical expectations. It was too heavy, not mobile enough, and underpowered. It would be easy prey due to its misuse as a solitary tank. Yeah, it just doesn't really work to have a land battleship with all those turrets. It's just a chaotic situation. While they look impressive, it just didn't quite manifest itself to be anything of any real combat value. I think the ones that used in Moscow in 41 were probably just set up in a defensive line, but I'm not completely positive of it. Yeah, if you look at, okay, there's a good evolution here of the other T-28s. Oh, good grief. Because if you look carefully at them, you'll see that there's a frame antenna, then there's a lack of a frame antenna. They went to the whip antenna or not. I'm not sure what's on that one, but there's no frame antenna on that one. And then you got an armored one up top here with extra armored plates around the turret. So you can see these things kind of were modified over time. Those are T-28s, but that's a whole other kit and a whole other story and perhaps a whole other episode. But it's fun to look at those as well, since they were both kind of in a similar concepts and probably a few years from each other, but you can kind of see the progression of the Soviet armor at that point in the 30s. Anyway, so that's our T-35 from ICM, which is a kit that will keep you busy for a while if you're looking for a fun project to work on in the winter months or anytime. This would probably give you that. All right, and we will see you on the next model building workshop. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your support. All right, bye.